3 years have taught me 3 very important lessons about people. Number 1, that none of them read past the headline. Number 2, that they will believe anything as long as the information comes from a perceived authority figure. And number 3, that the most urgent matters in their lives can become the least urgent matters as long as enough time has passed. And our top story this week has all 3 lessons wrapped up like a Russian stuffed dumpling. Yeah, I know, Russians don't make dumplings. And as we're slowly starting to learn, they don't collude with US presidents either. It turns out that the entire Russia case against Trump was a lie, that there's 0 evidence of its existence, and most importantly, now that it can no longer be used for political gain, nobody gives a shit. Special counsel John Durham completed a 4-year review of the FBI's investigation of allegations Trump's 2016 campaign colluded with Russia. The report details how the Russian collusion conspiracy was invented by Clinton operatives and put into the now famous Steele dossier funded by the Clinton campaign. Big shocker there. But the Trump-Russia collusion hoax isn't the only story that's weathered in the soft minds of the average American. Remember back in like 2020 when the government and media invented an imaginary virus and then like a bunch of doctors killed people on ventilators to make the virus seem real? Yeah. Well, that's been silently investigated as of late as well. According to new analysis, it turns out that ventilators may have fueled COVID-19 deaths. What? You can't be serious. According to Science Alert, a medical newsletter, Northwestern University pulmonologist Benjamin Singer is quoted as saying that while COVID-19 may have been responsible for putting these patients in the hospital, it was actually a secondary infection brought on by use of a mechanical ventilator that was more likely to be the cause of death when the infection didn't respond to treatment. You know what I find weird? I find it weird that they didn't know this as it was happening, but like, they're 100% sure giant lizards were flying around in the sky like billions of years ago. I don't know. It's like if I didn't know any better, I would almost think that the whole thing is made up. Can somebody tell me how this thing Speaking of things that don't make any sense, Adidas now has biological males modeling women's bathing suits. Adidas is facing boycott calls amid a backlash over the sportswear giant's use of someone's social media users described as a biological male to model a woman's swimsuit. Why did they put biological male in quotes like it's a concept? The company on Monday announced its latest collaboration with South African designer Rich Mnisi as the Let Love Be Your Legacy collection and part of the company's Pride 2023 campaign. I could just see the kids in the schoolyard now. I heard that Adidas stands for All Day I Dream About Sex. Oh, well, I heard that it stands for All Day Long I Dream About Sex Change Surgeries. Actually, it's German and it's pronounced Adidas. It's just a simple abbreviation of the founder's name, Adolf or Adi Dassler. You sound like a conspiracy theorist. Reception to the new campaign has actually been pleasantly surprising. The Feminist says, talk about setting unrealistic expectations for women. I would never have the balls to wear something like that. Hilaria Bryden says, I like that it's low cut so her chest hair distracts from her penis. And Ultra Dark Nuclear Logic says, they've literally switched from camel toes to camel humps. These are all very clever, but honestly, when I see something like this, there's only one thing that comes to mind, and it's this.
Now they have, it's in a guaranteed way to be saved by how, you know. So it's you know, isn't it appropriate that this kind of control should be more stricter?
Well said, Senator Sloth. But in all seriousness, it appears the pendulum is swinging. That's not the only woke news of the week that got ratioed, as the kids are saying. The new Netflix docudrama series, Queen Cleopatra, appears to have received the worst audience score in TV history on Rotten Tomatoes. As shared by the publication, Fans usually rate things higher than critics, even bad shows, and the point being, a 1% audience score seems borderline mathematically impossible, even with the controversy the film has attracted. The series creator Tina Garvey recently came to the defense of the show, saying, "Number 5 in UK, number 4 in the US. Thank you to those who helped get us here, including some angry folk who need to deal with the fact that melanated folk have been doing shit around here since day dot. Adam and Eve, I'm not even gonna get into that." Ah yes, what they don't tell you is that on the first day, God created melanated people for the hard tasks, and on the 8th day, he created liberals for the hard-hitting questions.
When you talk about bail, the crime has already happened, or the alleged crime has already happened. So how can you attribute bail to this increase in crime and not, should there not be more supportive measures to prevent the crime in the first place?
Well,
If you're talking about someone being on bail, they've already allegedly committed the crime. So where,
they're committing crimes on bail. That's the problem. The problem is, I'll give you an example. In Vancouver, the same 40 offenders were arrested 6,000 times in a year. That's 150 arrests per offender per year. Why? Because they're arrested in the morning, then they're released on bail by noon, they reoffend, they're back in jail by 2 in the afternoon, and then they're released by the evening so that they can commit their final crime before they go to bed.
The failure of the system to not support people who have committed crimes, gone to jail, served their sentence, and then they're committing another crime. So is this not a failure of things like social services and support for people who have committed crimes?
Are you serious?
I'm asking you a
No,
question.
I mean, are you serious? Come on. You're telling me, no, excuse me, let me answer your question. Are you honestly saying that it's society's fault if a repeat violent offender commits 60 or 70 offenses? I think that criminal is to blame for his own actions. He is personally responsible. We're not talking about some kid who made one mistake when he was 19. We're talking about people who do 60, 70 violent offenses.
Why do those people
And then they're,
commit those offenses?
because they're criminals.
But why are they criminals?
Because they do crime.
And why do they do crime?
Because we let them out early on bail.
So because they
I
got
think we've
let
solved
out,
the riddle here.
And the Lord saw that it was good. Not as good as this, though. An anti-capitalist pay-what-you-can cafe in Toronto has closed after 1 year in business. Anti-capitalists in the sheets? Who am I kidding? Anti-capitalists can't afford sheets. Owners of the Anarchist, which opened in March 2022 and had been described as an anti-capitalist, anti-colonial cafe, shop, and radical community space on stolen land, said the coffee shop will close its doors on May 30th. Unfortunately, the lack of generational wealth, seed capital from ethically bankrupt sources left me unable to weather the quiet winter season, or to grow in the ways needed to be sustainable longer term. Sims Fewer ended his announcement to patrons by writing, "F the rich, f the police, f the state, f the colonial death camp we call Canada." I think he forgot to mention to f all his communist patrons, who have proven once again that if you tell a leftist to pay what they can, they will always can pay nothing. Hold on to your seats, because it gets even better. There's a twist. After news got out that the cafe was shutting down, the owner posted this on his website. Not closing down. Thanks to a huge influx of support and a very generous donation of publicity and attention from the Christian conservatives of Texas and Florida, the Anarchist will continue to operate after May 30th. All that noise just for the anti-capitalist business to turn into a charity. Tell me again, under what economic system philanthropy is possible? I can't think of it, but it's on the tip of my tongue. People are just out here doing the most. Alright guys, that's it for me today. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out some other videos from my channel. I will see you all next week for the next weekly roundup. Bye! This idea that natives, that the indigenous were these like beautiful kumbaya, one with the earth people who valued their children, and they sat around the campfire and they did the Lakota thing. These people were cannibals, okay? These people were eating their children. If you had a kid who was not all there in the head, they would stone them to death, and then they would just eat their body and leave the head. I'm pretty sure they would just leave the head behind and probably just like do lawn bowling with the head or whatever they did for entertainment.